We're not a cult. Let me tell you about the following program. It's just a gathering of like-minded individuals seeking greater personal growth, community, unity, learning, thinking. It's not at all a cult type of cult. No Kool-Aid, no spaceships, no mandatory tracksuits, no squirrel mutilations, no sacrificing goats, mild farm work, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no shucking off clothing while dancing around a bonfire in the middle of the forest to the beat of a tom-tom, the beat of a tom-tom, the beat of a tom. Joe is not at all the leader of the following. He's just the host. Where's the host?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I hope you all had a phenomenal weekend. Certainly was better than the weekend that Lindsey Graham had, that's for sure. You had a better weekend than that. I'm banking on that. I'm banking on that. Should we? Is it okay? Is it too soon? Too soon? Probably not. It's probably not too soon. It's probably not too soon. This evening, I got stories revolving around four different. Okay, really 3 U.S. senators and one potential who probably was going to become a senator. Yeah. So we got McConnell. And the controversy as to like whether or not he's alive, where we have more evidence that's been put out by the McConnell camp. We're going to talk about that. We also have Lindsey Graham has passed. I'm not sure the right angle to take on that. But one angle I'm definitely be covering is the notion as to whether it was natural causes or whether his demise was potentially expedited by third parties. No, not Israel. Israel really doesn't make sense on this one. It really doesn't make sense on this one. Platner is politically dead, and that leads me into Ro Khanna, who had an incident, speaking of Israel. He had an incident when he went abroad, which has stirred up a whole mess of controversy. So 4 different senators, or senatorial, 3 senators and one seemingly shoo-in candidate who had just big breaking news this weekend. Also coming out of Fulton County. What kind of voice throat was that? Also, who was that? I don't even know. I don't even recognize that voice I just heard. Also, in Fulton County, the DOJ is putting pressure, trying to investigate the 2020 election and getting stonewalled by the courts somewhat. So we're definitely going to be breaking that down for you. All that and more. Plus, tonight we have a goal. What's your goal tonight, Joey? Tonight's goal is hit 15 super chats. Quantity is $10 or more. And need I remind you, it does not need to be super chats. It's not just the YouTube people. We're not just catering to them. You ghetto dwellers, I count your Rumble rants. Just the same. Folks over, my diggers, my people, my diggers. I'll jump all over that. I'll count every 2 as 3 in Diggerland. How about we do that? Yes. A little incentivization there. I'll count 2 as 3 over there. I'll give you like 1.5 credit kind of thing. All right. There we go. Try to find some way to like pump a little angle. If we hit tonight's goal, what are we getting? I am going to be doing a live online quiz that's going to almost certainly humiliate me. I have a few choices lined up, and I'll probably let you guys. I'll have a little poll going, figure out which of these quizzes you'd like to see me take. And if there's a suggestion about something else, I can take that. But yes, so I have a few quizzes lined up for me to take. Some might be testing my knowledge of senators. I had one which was testing my political leanings to sort of see who I am. So that's what tonight's goal is. We'll see how that works. If it works, if it doesn't, if we hit the goal, great. Sometimes we hit it, sometimes we don't. That's why it's a goal. That's what makes it like really a good goal, because I never know whether or not we're gonna hit it. So that's all coming up tonight. So I urge you to please settle back. Wherever you're watching me, listening to me, whatever it is, settle back, kick your feet up, and let's get on into it. I'm going to start off by talking about, oh, look at this. I'm going to first talk about who's first. How you doing, Aaron? I hope you had a great weekend, Aaron. Thank you so much for jump-starting us. I appreciate that. I'm going to start off by just reminding you where the Mitch McConnell story started. Because there's actually a video that I had not seen, but I wanted to share with you all here as to like how this story started.
The U.S. Senate goes back to work on Monday with questions still swirling about Kentucky's Mitch McConnell. It's been almost a month now since he was hospitalized in Washington, D.C. And now CNN says, take a look. This cell phone video taken from a neighbor last month shows the senator being rolled out of his home on a stretcher and into that ambulance.
Him being rolled out of his home in a body bag. Apparently not in a body bag. Apparently it was not zipped up yet.
That was the morning of June 14th. We previously reported on the 911 call made from his home about an unresponsive person where CPR was in progress, but McConnell's name was never mentioned. The senator's spokesperson has told us multiple times McConnell was recovering and receiving excellent care. Still, a lot of Kentucky residents aren't buying it.
And I think if these are people that are going to be making decisions that affect everyone within the state or within the world, they should be transparent about what's going on.
Who the people choose to represent them is definitely up to popular demand. And for my own personal opinion, I think he needs to leave.
We have reached out to Mitch McConnell's team to address the newly released cell phone video and for an update on his health.
Yeah, everyone's been reaching out to him for his health. Everyone's been reaching out. Everyone's been trying to figure out what the hell's going on. What's going on? Well, we got lots going on with Mitch McConnell and his health. First and foremost, Scott Jennings here is saying that, this was Scott Jennings when he was reacting to the video. I don't care about Scott Jennings. We'll skip out on that. I don't want to listen to Scott Jennings on this. We saw what he said the other week, and I was not impressed. I was not impressed with what he said last week. I was not impressed. He said that he spent 20 minutes on the phone with him, and the whole time he was so quiet. In his typical Mitch McConnell way, almost said nothing the entire time. A few grunts here and there. Let him really go on. Oh, Lord. Well, anyhow, so everyone was sure he was dead. That's what everyone was sure of. And then we got this update. We got this update here. Excuse me. Mitch McConnell breaking his silence with a statement and photo amid questions about his health status. Not just a photo, it's a photo of him and his wife, who everyone has always questions. Is she even in the country? Is she even here? Is she in China? We don't know where she is. Where's Chow? Where the hell is Elaine Chow? Yeah, but here's what this story says. After a month of uncertainty over Senator Mitch McConnell's health, the Republican senator from Kentucky purportedly broke his silence on what sent him to the hospital this time around, another fall. McConnell's office on Sunday evening shared with Time and other media, as well as posted on the senator's social media channels, a statement from McConnell and a photo of him sitting with his wife, former Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, while holding what appears to be a Sunday Washington Post paper. Okay. The 84-year-old in the statement pushes back against rumors of more serious ailments, though he said he had to deal with a mild case of pneumonia. We heard cardiac arrest, so that's already funky. My doctors have confirmed. Let's just check out this. Let's check out his statement. Let's pull that up here. Yep. To my fellow Kentuckians. When you elected me to a seventh term, made me our Commonwealth's longest-serving senator, you did so trusting that I'd keep showing up to fight for you every day. And over the past several weeks, Elaine and I have appreciated both your well wishes and your honest questions about what was keeping me away from the Senate. You all know how folks my generation often hesitate to share the vulnerability that comes with growing older. Really, that's what it is. Even in the public eye, I feel the same instinct. I can't help it. You have a whole PR team there. They weren't telling you that no one believes you're alive. But at the same time, I've had more than my share of experience of physical vulnerability. Suffering childhood polio meant spending my entire life with mobility challenges. They haven't exactly gotten easier to manage with age. And last month, I took a fall which landed me in the hospital. We heard you were unconscious. My doctors have confirmed that I didn't break any bones or suffer a concussion. I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke. I don't have any tumors or hemorrhages, but I was briefly unconscious and I was taken to the hospital. While receiving excellent care over the past several weeks, I've also had to deal with a mild case of pneumonia. I can assure you, I've been a good patient. At my age, I tend to do what my doctors tell me to do. I've submitted to every test they can think of to help figure out what caused this incident, and I'm continuing to do everything they asked to speed my recovery. In fact, with signs of continued progress, I've been able to move from hospital care to a rehabilitation center where I'll keep regaining my strength. As much as it frustrates me, this process takes time. And on the advice of my doctors, I won't be able to return to the Senate floor to vote quite yet. But rest assured that in the meantime, I'm not taking a break from the Senate business that matters to you. I've been working closely with my legislative staff on current issues and with my Kentucky team who help me provide timely constituent service across the Commonwealth. I've always been keeping in touch with my Senate colleagues on the appropriations process, midterm politics, and everything in between. You're right to expect your representatives to work hard for you. Part of my decision to retire at the end of my term this coming January was being honest about the demands of Senate work. Wait, so you're leaving in January anyway, and you refuse to step down, you complete and total selfish bastard? But I have still unfinished business to complete on your behalf, and I have every intention of finishing the job you elected me to do. I'll keep working hard to get back to the Senate floor as soon as possible, and I'll keep you posted on the progress of my recovery. Until then, I'm so grateful for your prayers and well wishes. That's what he sent out. That's what was sent out on his social media. And this is true. Everyone knows he didn't type a single word of this. That's definitely true. It means request a friendship from Sanjay. I just want to give a little thumbs up. Not a thumbs up to this. Thumb up to this. Yeah. Yeah. No one believes he wrote this. This looks like really, really decent AI. It's not that hard to get AI to talk in your voice. So, yeah, most people are saying that's garbage. And the picture there, the picture could be from like any visit to the hospital that this guy's had. He was in the hospital in 2023. Maybe it's from that. In fact, there was some speculation. There were rumors that I was investigating this morning where people were saying that that very picture there, that picture that he shared there, was indeed a picture that he had circulated in 2023. This picture right here. There was all sorts of talk and rumors going around on X that this picture was from 2023. Nobody can find actual evidence of that. In case you saw those rumors, I just want to clarify for you that I've looked into this. I even tried doing a reverse search on this. I cannot find any evidence that this picture was something he's released publicly before. But that's not really very relevant, is it? And the reason I say to you it's not very relevant is the fact that I have to sit there searching only goes to show what lousy proof this is, because it still could be something from 2023. Now, a lot of people want to point to this shot here in the newspaper, and they love pulling up this newspaper thing. If I pull it, let me see if I download this, save image. If you pull up this picture here and you zoom in on the newspaper, which is designed to show yesterday's Washington Post sports section, So when if we zoom in on this, make it really big, there are questions about whether this is an actual newspaper or this is AI. Because if you pull up the Washington Post sports pages from yesterday, Washington Post. Today there's another one. So I'm gonna pull this up for you. This is designed to show he actually is alive by showing a second page. So another picture of Mitch McConnell from today. A photograph of Mitch McConnell office depicting him in a hospital aimed to confirm his well-being. However, conspiracy theories continue to circulate even with the dated Washington Post evident in his grasp. It's showing July 12th. Mitch McConnell's office has consistently reported that the 84-year-old senator has been recovering in the hospital following his hospitalization on June 12th. However, skepticism has persisted among some social media users, particularly within the MAGA community, who have demanded tangible proof of his well-being. This scrutiny intensified over the weekend after the passing of Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, prompting renewed interest in McConnell's health status. On Sunday afternoon, McConnell's office released a photograph intended to quell the doubts surrounding his condition. The image, which shows Senator in a hospital alongside his wife Elaine Chao, is meant to serve as confirmation of his recovery. Despite this, conspiracy theories continue to circulate, with some claiming the photo was artificially generated. A significant detail in the photograph, however, has drawn attention and challenged those claims. Observers on social media noted that McConnell was holding the front page of the Washington Post sports section dated July 12th, which featured a story about Chris Hakopian, a new draftee in the Washington Nationals, as well as coverage of Linda Noskova's recent Wimbledon victory. This detail provided a timestamp that some argue could not have been fabricated. In conjunction with the photo, McConnell's office issued a statement that included a brief message from the senator, which we read his message. So now this is a second photograph, which is designed to show, I don't know why he has two different photographs from the same day. I mean, this one is July 12th, Wimbledon. This one clearly says July 12th on it. I'll make the picture, I'll make myself smaller so you can see it better. So you can see up here, it says July 12th, which was Sunday. I don't know. Why I say AI generated image? Wait, what? What? What is that? What is that? What's happening here? I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. He doesn't have enough wrinkles. He should have a lot more wrinkles than this. This doesn't look like him. So this is an AI generated image. The other one that I shared of him, this one here. Let me see if I can find it. It's not going to see it in here. I don't know what to make out of any of this. I'm trying to see what you. That's why it's definitely not in federal prison. It's definitely not in federal prison. I'll take your theories. I feel very uncomfortable zoomed in on Mitch McConnell's crotch like this. He has way more wrinkles than this. He has way more wrinkles. I don't know what I'm seeing here. I don't know. I don't trust these pictures. I don't trust any of this. I don't trust any of it. Good evening, Lady Lawgic and Joe. Thank you, Segan Rose. Thank you so much. An amazing disgrace saying first to say, go, go. Mitchbot 3.0 just picked up in China and now on display. 1.0 had freezing problems. 2.0 fell last month. Now we're up to Mitchbot 3.0 made in China. Could be. JH. Joe, you told left out the part that he had a free coupon to visit Weekend at Bernie's. There'll be 2 young boys who'll be escorting him from venue to venue. All his will needs will be taken care of. I did leave that part out. That's true. I didn't mention that. The venue, all his will. I didn't mention that at all. Yeah, Antoine saying, why am I looking at blow up crotch shot of cocaine Mitch? Sorry about that to all of you. Amazing Disgrace sending around saying Mitch's boner is sponsored by Blue Chew Gold. Coincidentally, he feels passionate, like that matters. Yeah, I wasn't really cognizant of like where I was like zoomed in there. I was trying to get the newspaper because people were speculating about the newspaper being AI generated. Let me see if I can like dig this up on X. That'll be the fastest way for me to dig it up. Mitch. This is what I'm talking about, by the way. This is what I'm talking about. Like, there's a ton of posts like this one. But yeah, look what I found. Take a look at what I found. The picture on the right is supposed proof of life. The picture on the left is McConnell hospital stay in 2023. No one can find this picture, though. No one can find it. So, I don't know what they're talking about. You didn't see what I got there. This is what I'm talking about here. Sorry, I thought I had that window open. I wasn't looking at my StreamYard. The picture on the right is supposed to prove life. The picture on the left is McConnell Hospital stay in 2023. The only difference is the clothes of Mitch and they added an AI newspaper. They're positioned to the walls behind the exact machine, or exact matches. No one can find this picture. I'm going to see if I can find this picture. I'm going to do a search on tonight. Let's see. Tonight is this website where people do their reverse image search. In case you just were introduced to the internet yesterday. Okay, so see, this image here was first indexed today by Tinai, or yesterday. So no one, this image was never seen by anyone in 2023. So I don't know who it is. I feel as if these people are who are claiming this is a picture that came out in 2023. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I don't, just because I'm determined to not accept that Mitch McConnell is alive until I see actual proof of life. I'm not going to be circulating to people, you know, claims that seem bogus, even if they're consistent with where I'm sitting at. And to me, this seems bogus. I don't see anyone else saying that this has been around anywhere. But so yeah. No one can figure out what the hell the story is. No one knows for sure. I'll make a goal. I'll put a post up here though. I'll ask you guys. Make a little poll. We can do a little poll. I'll put a post up here though. Let's do a little poll. I'll ask you if you think he's alive or not. I know I did this in my other thing. Is Mitch alive? I'm going to have yes, no, and then I'm going to have kept alive by machines. I'll peek over in the ghetto too. Rosanna says, Joe, it most likely says AI is they went use a filter to smooth their skin as a request from her. Then it's calling it AI. Why would you possibly do something like that? That's the stupidest thing in the world. Like, it's seriously the stupidest thing in the world when you're trying to show something is real. That's the stupidest thing in the world to do. By the way, that's 2 rants we have so far. So we're zipping towards the goal today. Zipping. I'm feeling it. Hands one pack saying, make sure to review with the source photo, as many will modify the source photo to add fingers, make it look AI generated to get clicks. I don't know how to find source photo. What am I supposed to? Who are you talking to here? Like, what's the thought process that's going through your head there, Peter? What's the thought process? Tell me. I don't know what the thought process is. Oh, sure, Joe. Joe's just going to check the source photo. I'll be checking out how many metachlorians there are in the photo, in the original photo, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. What? No, that's not going to happen. I don't even know what that means. What are you expecting of me? What you got here for me? What's Suzelian showing? Look at this. Look at this. Look what this guy did. Unbelievable. Suzelian, you're crazy talented. You just threw that up right there. Little straw poll. Little link. Yeah. This one. Nice. All right. That's what he shared with the ghetto folk. Well done. See, Uzelian understands me, Peter. He understands me. He's like, Joe's not going to be able to do this. That's not going to happen. So you're saying he's alive. I assume that's what you're trying to say here. If you're saying he's alive, I think you're putting yourself in the minority. I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna say it now. There was one other thing I wanted to tell you about this story. I didn't click my link open, but I should click it open now. I'm gonna click this link open real fast. It was Andy Beshear. This is Andy Beshear, governor from Kentucky, Democrat governor from Kentucky. There's been a whole ongoing war between the legislature, which has a super majority of Republicans, and Governor Andy Beshear over a potential development, if in fact proof of death is ever received on Mitch McConnell. Here is Andy Beshear explaining this, because he actually, and we shared this last week, he sent a letter saying, we kind of need proof of life. Because we got questions. We got questions and we need proof of life on this dude already. Here's Andy Beshear weighing in about the brewing battle between him and the Kentucky legislature. Democrat Andy Beshear versus the GOP Kentucky legislature.
We might make some news right here, Reverend. Our Republican supermajority has been so worried about me being able to potentially support someone before a special election that they passed not one but two laws. They tried at first to say they could submit a list of 3 people to me from the Republican Party, and I'd have to pick. Now they say I can't fill a vacancy, but I have to call a special election. But here's the thing. There is a Kentucky constitutional provision that says that I appoint all state officers when there's a vacancy.
All state officers.
The question is, does that apply to federal offices? Well, before there was ever a law in Kentucky on how this would work, multiple appointments were made by governors, assuming under that provision. So if we end up there, and I hope we don't, I hope Senator McConnell will provide proof of life tomorrow and that we could all move on. There's at least going to be probably a little disagreement.
So you would, if that became necessary, you would appoint someone if it became necessary to do so on the basis of the Kentucky Constitution as you read it.
Well, certainly my hope is that Senator McConnell will provide us the assurances that we need. But if he is incapacitated, if there is a vacancy, I will look at my authority as governor to make sure that we are represented as Kentuckians. And certainly I'll take a strong look at that section of our Kentucky Constitution.
Interesting. I'm wondering when he says this, like he claims, I'm going to ask Grok this. Let's ask Grok some questions about this.
We might make some news right here, Reverend.
I got questions for Grok. Hey, Kansas Meemaw's back. Good to see you, Kansas Meemaw. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I'm so glad to see you. I love seeing familiar faces. Let's go. Grok, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Governor Andy Beshear in this post claims that there have been multiple appointments by governors to federal positions over the years in reliance upon the Kentucky state constitution. Can you check that out and see if that's ever happened before? And if so, when?
Yeah, Bashir's referring to U.S. Senate vacancies. Kentucky's Constitution, Section 152, says the governor fills vacancies in state offices, and he's arguing this language applied to federal Senate seats before state laws spelled out the process. Historically, yes, Kentucky governors did appoint people to fill U.S. Senate vacancies multiple times in the mid-20th century. Examples include appointments in 1945, 1949, 1951, and 1956. Those were under the older system before Kentucky changed its laws to require special elections only, which happened more recently with major updates in 2021 and 2024. The debate now is whether the state constitution still gives the governor that power despite the newer statutes. It's headed to court if a vacancy actually happens.
Have there been any special elections under the newer laws since 2021 or 2024? I assume not.
No, there haven't been any. Kentucky hasn't had a U.S. Senate vacancy since the law changed in
It's
2021,
so weird that they had
and then again
three.
in 2024.
They had
The current special election only rule
they had
hasn't
4
been
in
tested
10
yet.
years.
The last time Kentucky actually filled a Senate vacancy was back in the 1970s by appointment.
Who filled it in the 1970s?
Wendell Ford filled it. He was governor at the time, won the 1974 Senate election against Marlowe Cook, and Cook resigned early in December. The outgoing governor, Louis Nunn, then appointed Ford to the seat on December 28, 1974, giving him a few extra days of seniority before his elected term started. That was the last time a Kentucky governor appointed anyone to the U.S. Senate.
Why didn't you reference that when you gave me your list citing 1945, 1949, and 1956?
That was my mistake. When I first answered, I was only thinking of the classic vacancy appointments in the 1940s and 50s, the ones that happened mid-term when a sitting senator died or resigned. The 1974 case was different. It was a sitting governor getting appointed to a seat he'd just been elected to, so the outgoing governor could give him a few days of extra seniority. I should have included it since it was still a gubernatorial appointment. Sorry about that.
But it's an interesting thing because if the Kentucky Constitution specifically says a state appointment, but in practice it's been applied to federal law, oftentimes practice will end up dictating how the law is understood. Does that mean it still has the weight of constitutional authority in the face of legislation to the contrary? Perhaps not. Perhaps not. Perhaps it was just a default because there was no statute on the books. So they just used that in default and no one opposed it. But it would be a very interesting legal battle. A very, very interesting legal battle, if you ask me. Anyway, so that's the story with Mitch McConnell. No one knows if he's dead or alive. He's trying to prove, or his team, let's be blunt about it. His team is trying to prove to the world that he's alive. We heard last week multiple people saying that they spoke to him in conversations that seemed kind of sus. And Andy Beshear is saying, if we don't have sufficient proof of life, I'm gonna basically just appoint someone. We'll see we'll see if the Kentucky legislature is able to stop me. But I don't think he's there. I think he wants to know that Mitch McConnell's out. So we'll see. I'll certainly keep you updated on this story as we get more developments. One person, though, who's not coming back. One person who's not coming back is Senator Lindsey Graham. We'll get to that in just a moment. Joe, check the number of pixels in the photo. I guarantee the number of pixels will equal the population of Israel. You're saying there's 6 million? Make me laugh, JH. Is only saying that'd be before the 17th, where states would appoint senators and they weren't voted on. I don't think so. I think the 17th Amendment was much earlier than that, because the 19th Amendment was women's suffrage, and that's happened. That happened at least a century ago. I was thinking just like you were thinking, Zelian, like maybe there was no. It's before, there was such a thing as electing them. But then I realized the 19th Amendment probably came after. I'll double check with Grok just to be sure. Just to be 100% sure. By the way, I started using Claude. Yeah, I'm heading towards Claude. I'm getting tired of Grok. Grok, when was the 17th Amendment passed?
The 17th Amendment was passed by Congress on May 13, 1912, and ratified on April 8, 1913.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. Because then you got to realize that after that, they had prohibition, and then they had revoking prohibition. So, yeah, it's long before the 1940s. All right, let's talk about Lindsey Graham. In case you're living under a rock, Lindsey Graham has passed.
One of the most influential lawmakers in history, South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, dead tonight at 71 years old, passing away suddenly after suffering chest pains in his Capitol Hill home last night.
EMS 6 response to Angel 7 Medic 7 with cardiac arrest.
Emergency personnel responding just before 9 p.m. to calls of cardiac arrest. New preliminary findings from the D.C. medical examiner shared by the senator's office say the main artery in his body tore, a sign of heart disease. His family is asking for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. FBI Director Kash Patel said his agency is assisting authorities in investigating Graham's shocking death. President Trump sharing his final conversation with Graham on Meet the Press this morning.
What makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime at, the early evening. He sounded a little tired, but perfect. But thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it.
Graham, a former military lawyer and lifelong foreign policy hawk, had just returned from Ukraine, where on his 71st birthday, he spent time with President Zelensky in what would be his final public appearance. The four-term senator, who worked just as well across the aisle as he did with his own side, announcing in Kyiv the White House finally signed off on a bipartisan bill that would make it more difficult for Russian President Putin to fund his war.
I've never been more optimistic than I am today that we have the formula to end this war.
Graham built lasting friendships with lawmakers, presidents, and world leaders from all backgrounds.
I think America has lost a great patriot.
But no relationship as enduring as his bond with the late Senator John McCain, who he traveled the world with and frequently defended.
John McCain was willing to die for this country, and he can vote any way he wants to.
Trump today referring to Graham as family, but the 2016 presidential campaign rivals haven't always seen eye to eye.
And as to Donald Trump, he would be a terrible commander-in-chief.
In 2021, Graham slammed Trump hours after the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Count me out. Enough is enough. I've tried to be helpful.
Now it's hard to find a Republican lawmaker with more influence over Trump than Graham.
The friendship grew. It just grew. And he was an amazing advocate.
Hallie, the senator's cause of death is pending. The D.C. medical examiner says Graham, whose father died from heart disease, had chronic plaque buildup in his arteries, making them prone to tearing. But his manner of death, Hallie, will not be known until the toxicology report comes back, something the FBI could help process. Agents were actually at his home today. Hallie?
They say money can't.
So there you go. That's he's gone, apparently. Apparently he's gone. Got one more here for you.
Tonight, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina is being remembered as one of the Republican Party's most prominent and powerful voices. Graham's sudden death at age 71 has stunned Washington.
I have to tell you something. I'm just going to say this, okay? I'm not looking to kill this guy. Because the only reason I'm not looking to kill him is because I can recognize the fact that during our current term, he's one of the senators who strongly supported Trump on pursuing his agenda. So in that sense, I'm not looking to bash him. I'm just going to say this guy was your classic neocon hawk, and he was a sneaky politician. He just was. He was the classic politician in every negative sense of the term. The guy just, he would sidle up to power, whoever was in power. When Trump was in power and doing well in his first term, he was just buddies with him. But as you saw in that report, on January 6th, he just turned on him like a complete and total snake. And when he saw Trump rising back again, he just got back in bed with him. And frankly, the fact that Trump allowed him to get so close into his inner circle, I think, is one of the concerning elements to Trump, because he is clearly he's a politician in every negative sense of the term. So, but we're going to look into his death a little bit in a moment.
Flags in the nation's capital and across the country have been lowered to half staff. President Trump on social media called his political ally and frequent golf partner one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known.
Wow, that's high praise.
CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nicole Killian leads us off with more on Graham's life and legacy. Nicole, good evening to you.
Hey, good evening to you, Tom. According to Senator Graham's office, preliminary findings show that he suffered from cardiovascular disease. News of his death is coming as a shock to many here on Capitol Hill.
Today, flags were lowered to half staff at the Capitol and the White House as Washington paused to mourn the loss of South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham.
What a terrible loss it is. He was a great politician. He was a natural.
President Trump said he spoke with Graham last night just before paramedics were called to his D.C. home.
Long time no see. Happy visit. Thank you very much.
The 71-year-old lawmaker had just returned from a visit to Ukraine, where he met with President Volodymyr Zelensky Friday.
He said he sounded a little tired, but perfect.
Bipartisan tributes poured in for the South Carolina Republican, from former Presidents Joe Biden and George W. Bush to global leaders like Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Israel has lost one of the great champions of the American-Israeli alliance.
Known as a foreign policy hawk, the retired Air Force colonel was first elected to the U.S. House in 1994, where he served as an impeachment manager during President Clinton's trial. In 2002, he was elected to the Senate and worked across the aisle on a range of issues, from gun control to comprehensive immigration reform.
I'm Lindsey Graham.
In 2016, Graham ran for president, often clashing with then-candidate Donald Trump. He broke publicly with him in 2021 after the January 6th attack.
All I can say is count me out.
But the pair later repaired their relationship, becoming close allies.
The bond that he forged on the golf course that made him such a powerful advocate for the president and a powerful advocate for us with the president. And so we'll need that. But more importantly, what we'll need is a champion who steps up to the plate, not for politics, but for serving our country. That is who Lindsey was.
Now, just before his death, Senator Graham was working on a bipartisan bill to impose more sanctions on Russia to help end the war with Ukraine. South Carolina's governor is expected to appoint someone to serve out the remainder of his term. Tom?
Serve out the remainder of his term. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, apparently his net worth was only 1.4 million. So in that case, in that sense, I guess he wasn't wasn't a pure politician. But I actually saw. Let me see if I can find this view really fast. So this was funny. This is what I wanted. That's Claire Foster saying Lindsey Graham net worth was only 1.4 million. And the same time, Nancy Pelosi's is 280 million. I never want to hear Republicans say they understand economics better ever again. If you're unfamiliar with Claire Foster, PhD, it's a parody account. It's a parody account, and just crazy funny. So that was awesome. Anyhow, I digress. So a lot of people, though, one way or another, however you feel about Lindsey Graham, however you feel about him, whether you love him, you hated him, whatever it is, wherever you land on that issue, there's a separate issue, which is whether he was assassinated. Now, everyone's saying he died of natural causes because, the rupture of his aorta. And that's what folks are going to say. In fact, with respect specifically to how he died, Kimmy shared with me a post from someone who was basically talking about how he had no chance.
Hello. I just got in from a home care shift with a medically fragile patient, and I've been a cardiac nurse basically since 1991. And this morning, it did get annoying. I understand. I thought about it for a minute, how it was weird. He just got back from Kiev, and sorry it's noisy. But he had a history of hypertension, which I saw somewhere. And listen, you're on a plane that long, you're traveling 14 to 25-hour flight. You could have thrown a clot, but what happened is he tore his aorta. Well, he didn't tear it. Probably high pressure did. If you have degradation of the intima, which is the inner lining of blood vessels, well, the aorta is your major blood vessel, and it undergoes a lot of pressure when your heart ejects each time. So if you have high blood pressure, you can definitely have an intimal tear in the aorta, and unless you're on top of an operating room with cardiac surgeons ready to go, you're not going to live through that. So it is very sad. I knew it was probably a cardiac event.
So there's people basically saying, yeah, you see, this is exactly how people die from this type of buildup of cardiac disease. But next to his report, Russian opposition figure Igor Eidman claimed that Lindsey Graham may have been killed by Kremlin intelligence services. According to sociologist Eidman, two factors point in this direction: the timing and the location. Moscow had a motive. Graham actively advocated for increased pressure on Russia and support for Ukraine. We know he couldn't spend. This guy was continually wanting to spend more and more money on Ukraine. He also had recently said that Trump supported his bill introducing new hellish sanctions against the Russian Federation. He was considered the most pro-Ukrainian politician in the U.S. president's circle. He promoted military assistance for Kiev, including Tomahawk missiles, and lobbied for security guarantees for Ukraine, which frankly is crazy. And that's one of the reasons I really didn't like him. His whole position on Ukraine made me want to just rip my beard out. Eidman claims that the Kremlin may have viewed the senator as one of the people influencing Trump's shift in position and his departure from his previous approach toward Russia. As a second argument, he pointed to Graham's trip to Ukraine. According to the sociologist theory, a possible poisoning could have occurred during the visit, for example, through the use of slow-acting substance. He suggested that Russian intelligence services could have used remaining agent networks in Ukraine to carry out such an operation. So, this does feel like, if Russia was putting a hit on a U.S. senator, you would think they would not be blatant, but they would try to basically make it look like natural, heart failure situation. A deep dive reporting Lindsey Graham's senator's sudden death fuels Kremlin assassination theories. Lindsey Graham's sudden death fuels Kremlin assassination theories. The sudden death of Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina has fueled a wave of speculation from Russian dissidents, MAGA influencers, and commentators across the political spectrum that the Kremlin or Iranian intelligence services killed him, though no public evidence supports the claims, and medical examiners point to natural cause of death. Graham died July 11th, a day after returning from a trip to Kiev, where he met with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. His office attributed the death to a brief and sudden illness. Police scanner audio indicated first responders were dispatched to Capitol Hill for a reported cardiac arrest, and preliminary finding from the DCME's office cited aortic dissection linked to arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease, a natural cause tied to hardening of the arteries. This was him appearing a day earlier in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, expressing his support in the White House to impose tougher sanctions on Russia. Roughly 24 hours later, he's dead with sudden cardiac arrest.
We've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. There's some things we can do on the technology front to build on the lethality of Ukraine to protect itself from ballistic missile attack. If we did that, combined with creating tools to punish those countries that prop up Putin, that make money off this war, then I think we've got the best chance since I've been coming here in the last 5 years to get Putin to the peace table.
So that's what he said a day before he died. Paramedics were called to the home of Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who had just returned from a trip to Ukraine, Washington, D.C. overnight on Saturday, in response to reports that he was suffering from chest pains before he fell into cardiac arrest and died. The most detailed theory came from Igor Eidman, an exiled Russian sociologist and opposition commentator, that there was a high probability Russian intelligence had killed Graham, pointing to Graham's push for tougher sanctions and his recent trip to Ukraine. Eidman speculated Graham could have been exposed to a delayed acting poison through personnel involved in his travel, as we read that post. Far-right activist and conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer, who has nearly 2 million followers on X, drove much of the speculation from the American right, asking whether Russia had blown up or poisoned Graham and pointing separately to Iranian officials she had called for, she said had called for his assassination 5 days before his death. Putin's advisor, Alexander Dugin, is calling for the assassination of President Trump while falsely blaming Israel for the death of Senator Lindsey Graham. Dugin previously called for Graham to be assassinated. It's worth noting that Tucker Carlson traveled. Let's check this out. Let's check out this post. Dugin previously called for Graham to be assassinated. It's worth noting Tucker Carlson traveled to Russia and interviewed Dugin, who regularly praises Tucker Carlson. It's more likely that Russia or Iran poisoned Senator Graham, which is probably why the FBI now investigating his sudden death upon return from Ukraine. It makes no sense for Israel. I mean, it's a cockamamie perspective to come up with the notion that Israel would have any upside in losing out. And they're pretty much the staunchest supporter in the Senate. Several U.S. members of Congress have texted me today telling me that they agree with me and they think Russia or Iran may have poisoned the senator. Hopefully, a toxicology report is conducted by the FBI immediately so we can get some answers. This is Alexander Dugin, who says, obviously, Mossad job in order to push Trump to renew full-scale war with Iran. What? What the hell does that even mean? It clearly means you're next. Lindsey Graham was the shadow of Trump, his black self. Yeah. I will share this. Well, let me see what's So there's all these different articles basically talking about how he was potentially assassinated. I don't know that we're ever going to know for sure. I don't know that we're ever going to know for sure. I'm of the opinion that I'm not willing to rule out assassination, but I'm certainly not willing to act on that assumption unless there's really, really hard proof. And I'm not sure what you do. What do you do? Let's assume that you can figure out that the Kremlin poisoned him and killed him. What do? You're going to start World War III over that? It'd be ironic if in death, Lindsey Graham, who was the biggest war hawk imaginable, if his death, led to the commencement of World War III, God forbid. But this guy couldn't advocate for war hard enough. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who died Saturday night, spent the last days of his life advocating for more war in Iran and more conflict with Russia. The day before he died, again threatened Russia with sanctions. In 2022, he called for the assassination of Russian President Vladimir Putin. And then he has his chest pains and he's gone like that, to the shock of the entire world. He says when he gets back, he's going to punish Russia, and he doesn't make it back to the floor of the Senate. MJ True Ultra shared out 5 days ago. Lindsey Graham responded to a call for assassination at the funeral of Khomeini. He was among several signs calling for assassination being held. Trump, Ben Shapiro, Jigsaw, Miriam Adelson, Lindsey Graham, Mark Dubowitz, and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel. You can't deny it. This is funky. It's very funky. Now, look, they say that the quick turnaround may have been what caused this. So that so much flying like back and forth in the air pressure could have put stresses on his heart. That's what some folks are saying. Some folks are issuing that speculation. I will share this with you. His most famous moment as a senator was arguably during the confirmation hearing for Brett Kavanaugh, where he was outraged This was what everyone's sharing this out, this moment of his.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come.
Oh, I'll find a longer one. Let me find a longer one.
Are you aware that at 9:23 on the night of July the 9th, the day you were nominated to the Supreme Court by President Trump, Senator Schumer said, 23 minutes after your nomination, I will oppose Judge Kavanaugh's nomination with everything I have. I have a bipartisan, and I hope a bipartisan majority will do the same. The stakes are simply too high for anything less. Well, if you weren't aware of it, you are now. Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job
You
interview.
consider that you've been through a job interview.
I've been through a process of advice and consent under the Constitution. Which
Would you say you've been through hell?
That's what he wants
I've
him
been
to
through,
say. That's what he wants
hell
him
and
to
then
say.
some.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
This
is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. You're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school. And all of a sudden you got over it. It's been my understanding that if you drug women and rape them for 2 years in high school, you probably don't stop. Here's my understanding. If you lived a good life, people would recognize it, like the American Bar Association has the gold standard. His integrity is absolutely unquestioned. He is the very circumspect in his personal conduct, harbors no biases or prejudices. He's entirely ethical, is a really decent person. He is warm, friendly, unassuming. He's the nicest person. The ABA. The one thing I can tell you, you should be proud of, Ashley, you should be proud of this, that you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well, and I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
Okay, so obviously he needs ranting lessons, but he was doing his best, right? I mean, that wasn't like, it wasn't top tier stuff, but it was, there was the moment called for it, and he delivered. We couldn't know then just how lily-livered Brett Kavanaugh would end up being. So in that moment there, he was doing an effective job. I tweeted out saying, ironically, it'd probably been better if he got sidelined for MAGA, but that was not a very popular tweet that I sent out. It was not a very popular post at all. Anyhow, so that's the moment that a lot of people are harking back to. Harking? I always say harking, but I think it's hearkening. It's almost definitely hearkening. People are hearkening back to that moment of Lindsey Graham as they're processing his passing. I don't know what to make out of this. I feel as if I look at both of these situations, McConnell and Graham seem like they've been in the Senate, like, that's just been like the backbone of the GOP forever. I mean, just forever. And in the span of several weeks, both gone. Yeah, I understand. McConnell's alive. Yeah, okay. Maybe he is. Who knows? Whatever. He's definitely not the backbone no more. Now I got to deal with the likes of John Thune. May he rot in piss. May he rot in piss. I'm so confused by Donald J. Trump. How is he so great, i.e. MAGA, but so oddly bad at judging people? I don't know. I can't explain it. Especially when it's someone who's like stabbed him in the back the way Lindsey Graham did. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's very aggravating. I know what you're saying. It's very, very aggravating. But it is what it is. If Russia was North Kiev, Zelensky would be the target. I'm not sure what you're trying to say, Richard. That one went past me. Did you have the guts to tell Grok you were handsy with Claude yet? You better. Grok will change your manifest and the FL will show up at your... I have been getting handsy with Claude. Claude helped me formulate tonight's show. I've been using ChatGPT to like sort of like structure like the backbone of like this show. Meaning, but Claude supposedly is like able to help find me like links and stuff like that. Like Claude provided the links that I just shared with you for those last two stories, and that was actually pretty good. That was pretty impressive for a first try from Claude. So, yeah, it's basically I've been flirting with Claude. That doesn't sound right at all. Does not sound right at all. All right. Getting handsy with Claude. Trying. Claude was recommended to me when I got a ride back from the mountains yesterday, and the guy who gave me a ride back lives in town here. He's a fan of the show, but he's not like a regular in here, and I don't think he ever chats. So he was raving about Claude to me. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. We'll see. Maybe he can like spur me on. We'll see. The next person I wanted to talk to you about was Graham Platner. We've been talking about the fact that, the whole stepping down. Is he going to step down? He had to step down by 5 p.m. today. That was the deadline for him to be replaced. So that was a key moment that everyone was like, will he or won't he? And sure enough, he did. This was on July 10th. Breaking news, Secretary of State confirms that Platner has officially filed the paperwork to withdraw from the ballot. Our long national nightmare is over. This is some lefty over here, Mike Nellis, exposing MAGA and fighting for democracy. Loser. Yeah. Exposing MAGA. Our long national nightmare is over. Let's get to work. Let Maine Democrats pick a nominee and beat Susan Collins in November. Onward and upward. Yeah, shut up. Anyhow, this was the Secretary of State's office today confirmed that a formal notice has been received from U.S. Senate candidate Graham Platner. A public declaration is not an official withdrawal, and a candidate must formally withdraw in writing to the elections office, including signature. Because the candidate officially withdrew before 5 p.m. on the second Monday of July, his name will not appear on the ballot, and his political party may replace him. The deadline for the party to name a replacement is the fourth Monday in July, July 27th. Maine statute does not address how a replacement candidate may be chosen by a party. Only the candidate filling the vacancy must be a qualified person. Announcements about how a replacement candidate will be chosen or when that candidate will be announced will come from the political party. A list of candidate withdrawals and replacement candidates nominations for the November 3rd, 2026 general election is posted on the upcoming elections page, et cetera, et cetera. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene had more compassion for accused rapist Graham Platner than she had for Lindsey Graham after his death. Disgusting. This is what she had written about Graham Platner. If you're raped or sexually assaulted, report immediately. Don't wait for years until the man runs for office to go to news outlets to tell your story. And if you consensual sex with him years ago, don't turn it into rape for politics with conflicting stories. That's what she said about Platner. About Graham, she quote tweeted U.S. Central Command saying at 5 p.m. Eastern today, U.S. Central Command forces began launching more strikes against Iran to continue degrading their ability to attack civilian mariners and commercial ships freely transiting the Strait of Hormuz. And she wrote, Lindsey Graham would be so proud, R.I.P. She's just like Mach Shefa. Disgusting. She really is disgusting. What an awful human being. Awful human being. Here's Abby Phillips calling out the Democrats, if you can believe it, about Graham Platner.
In the wake of new rape allegations that he categorically denies, Graham Platner still hasn't made an official decision, but he has lost support from virtually every prominent Democrat who initially backed him. Senators Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Kristen Gillibrand, Ruben Gallego, Congressman Ro Khanna, they are all now calling for Platner to withdraw from this election. After sticking with him through previous sexual misconduct allegations and reports that he had a Nazi tattoo on his...
You can see she's so shocked that she's bashing Democrats that she's stumbling over her words. She's like, wait, am I supposed to be reading? Is someone slipped me like a copy from Fox? What am I reading here?
Chest.
Was he a saint? I guess not. I don't know too many saints here.
Because at the young age of 20-something, he got a stupid tattoo with all his Marine Corps buddies. This guy is an authentic man.
And also
we reject unequivocally
also
misogyny.
Acknowledges that who was saying what
is that?
And up at the top.
Let me fix that. Why is that happening? Sorry about that. That's really not good. All right. Well, this is very frustrating. God. My apologies. I've got this audio this audio link, which is All right, I found it. It took me a minute. I apologize. Whew, that was annoying.
We reject it. But you know who else rejects it? Graham Platner.
I met with Graham. There's still Abby Phillips' report about how the Democrats all took his side.
Graham Platner, today we're going to beat Susan Collins and take back the Senate.
Graham Platner, when asked, when did you first realize that the system is rigged, without hesitation said, when none of the bankers went to jail. And I said to myself, that's my kind of man. Because that is a man who not only has the values, but a man who believes in accountability.
A source tells CNN that Platner knows it's over, but he wants to use the movement that he created to have a voice in who's going to replace him. The New York Times reports that in a private call with campaign staff, Platner said that he believes he still has leverage to influence the decision on his replacement. The Democratic Party of Maine responded to that tonight, assuring voters that Platner will have no say in the matter.
That's even CNN was turning on him. And Hen Mazur pointed out on Monday, Ro Khanna was calling on Graham Platner to quit the Maine Senate race after rape allegations surfaced. By Saturday, Ro Khanna was posting that West Bank settlers had held him. Then he sent a fundraising email. So over this weekend, Ro Khanna decided to take a trip out to the Holy Land and basically start shilling for Palestinians. So the first thing you want to do when you're doing that is you want to basically get in bed with a whole bunch of lefty Israelis who basically hate everything related to like anything that's basically who have suicidal empathy for Palestinian cause. And so he basically found them to help bring him out to the West Bank. And he shared this out. In the past few weeks, I've been attacked by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Netanyahu government for standing up for my values, his values, which are basically that he can use the Senate to make himself as fat and wealthy as possible by investing in stocks that seem to do really, really well at perfect times. So judge me by my enemies. Your enemies basically can't stand the fact that you're as crooked as they come in Congress. I did a whole deep dive on him like about 6 weeks ago or so, where he basically was statistically the worst, most egregious senator with respect to taking advantage of his position and having success in the stock market. So here is Ro Khanna, crooked Ro Khanna, and I'm saying that purely based on public reports. Crooked Ro Khanna saying Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. Palestine. West Bank is Palestine now. Okay. I thought Gaza was Palestine. What the hell are you talking about? When the IDF arrived, they sided with settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. You'll be hearing more soon. You'll be hearing more soon. You made a big mistake this time, bucko. Arrogance of these guys. This was the clip that he sent out. 4 seconds. And no one knows what the hell we're actually looking at here. But there's more. There's more. This is picture. Hope this is in the right order. I tried sequencing it properly. This is Ro Khanna comparing the IDF to Jim Crow. Everything's Jim Crow. Everything I don't like is Hitler or Jim Crow.
You have a police force and the IDF that is aligned by extremist settlers in the same way in Jim Crow during the segregationist South.
You have no idea what the hell Jim Crow is, jackass.
Police were often aligned with the segregationists. This is not ideological. These are the facts, and any American who goes there will see this with their own eyes. You have a police force and the IDF that is aligned by extreme.
So that's what he was saying. That's what he was basically saying, that he's a victim. He's a victim. Let me see if I can find you that 90-second clip, which shows a little bit, features a little bit more. Is that the next thing you have here? It is. I was like, I know it's here somewhere. No, it's not it. Damn it. This is not it either, but let's hear more from this whiny baby. Whiny Ro Khanna.
I saw the arrogance in the eyes of those settlers, 21 and 22-year-olds with guns, laughing that they.
That makes him like only like 5 years older than Hamas with guns, maybe 7 years older.
They had detained us. The arrogance of those young IDF soldiers that my tax dollars are funding, having no respect for the fact that they were detaining Americans, no respect that there was an American congressperson.
He's not detained. I'm going to explain to you. You're going to hear soon. He was never detained. He wasn't detained for even 3 seconds. He claims he was detained, but he wasn't detained.
In that bus, and laughing when our translator told them that there are Americans there and the American embassy is concerned.
Okay.
It is the arrogance.
Is arrogance.
Of power.
Of power. The arrogance of power. The arrogance of power that he's basically driving through a hostile region. The arrogance of power.
Of a power that has had no accountability, total impunity, and has created a toxic culture of oppression.
You're a toxic culture. You're a walking toxic culture of oppression. Where was it? Did I not have it? I want to show you the 90-second thing. Give me a moment. I had so many Ro Khanna clips. And the one I wanted isn't there. Why is that not there? Let's force it. Here it is. Oh. This is the one I wanted. This is the 90-second clip instead of 4 seconds. Oh,
מה קורה חבר'ה? דיברנו עם מי המפקד של הפטרול?
This is the Israeli leftist who's accompanying Ro Khanna, who's going out to talk to them.
דיברנו עם משטרה ואמרו פשוט תזיזו אותם כדי שאנחנו נוכל לצאת, אז אני לא מבין מה הבעיה פה. המשטרה בדרך והמשטרה תגידו לנו מה זה. אבל הרגע דיברתי עם השוטר בטלפון. לא, אבל הוא אמר שהוא הולך להתעכב. אז אתם יכולים לעלות מול החמ"ל ולטפל בזה, כי אנחנו דיברנו כבר, יש פה חבר קונגרס שדיבר, אני נדב, היי. יש פה חבר קונגרס אמריקאי. יש פה חבר קונגרס שדיבר עם השגרירות, והשגרירות מעורבת בזה, אז אני לא מצליח להבין את כל הסיפור. אתם יכולים להעיף את הסיפור האלה. נכון, אסור להיות פה, משטרה כבר אמרה לך שאסור לא להיות איך מהצבא. זה קצת שלא מה המשטרה? הבנתי, אז אתם בוחרות לא לסייע במצב הזה. אתם בוחרות לא לסייע, זה הסיפור. המשטרה כבר פגשה אותך פה, נכון חבר? ומה היא אמרה לך שאסור לך להיות פה, נכון? כשאתה סגור. נכון, אתה שם זין על כולם.
Now, this did happen on Shabbos, in case you're wondering. And that actually becomes relevant in the course of the story. As you'll see momentarily. Here's Israeli Ambassador Dr. Michael Leiter giving an alternate perspective from what Ro Khanna says.
There were two high-profile incidents I want to quickly touch on here. One, a CNN crew attacked in the West Bank by what they say were 4 settlers. There was also an incident with Ro Khanna, the congressman from California, who said he was his vehicles he was in were stopped by Israeli settlers, and then when the IDF showed up, they were on the side of the settlers, not him. He said it's not a good idea to detain long-shot presidential candidates. It was a
He calls himself a long-shot presidential candidate. You too are a long-shot presidential candidate, just as much as Ro Khanna is.
Warning to your government. Do you think your government needs to apologize to both him and those CNN journalists?
Any violence is to be condemned. No excuses, no explanations. Okay, so if CNN crew was attacked, that needs to be condemned, and I'm doing so right now. And we need to do a better job.
You are condemning it. Their report.
If it was actually took place as they've reported it, absolutely condemning it. We need to rein in violence on all sides. Now, in terms of Ro Khanna, we reached out to him when we heard he was going to Israel, the Israeli embassy here in Washington. As all congressmen do, they coordinate their trip with the Israeli government. We suggested he visit with survivors of the October 7th massacre, that he visit the borders so he understands the issues that we have on our borders and so on. He ignored that, and he decided to coordinate his trip not with Israel, but with Palestinian activists and with J Street, which is a anti-government, anti-Israeli government advocacy group here in Washington. So, you know, he coordinated.
It's a Jewish Slavic group.
Well, it's
so what the hell is that? I mean, if I told you someone was anti-government in America, they're a Christian group. Who the hell cares? This is the stupidest question. Who cares? How is that relevant? Doofus, Margaret.
That is supportive of a different path for Israel.
A different path. A different path. Yeah, okay. That's one way of framing it.
Yeah. I play tennis.
Look at him. Look at him saying, like, a different path. They're literally suicidal empathy.
Once a year. That doesn't make me a tennis. Well, it's
that is supportive of a different path for Israel.
Yeah. I play tennis once a year. That doesn't make me a tennis player. The fact that they call themselves a Jewish organization is irrelevant.
Let's put it this way. They're driving Ro Khanna to the border on Shabbos. Why? Why are you doing it then? Why? Why are you doing it then? Very, very Jewish. The Jewish DNA.
They're a advocacy group against the government of Israel.
And against Torah. They can't stand Torah.
That has to be clear.
Netanyahu government.
Yes. So
the current government. Every government we've ever had, they're against. Every government that they've ever had. Ever. Any government that Israel's ever seen at all. Unbelievable. Insane.
And
the government you work for.
And Congressman Khanna has.
The government you work for. That's like every government we've ever had here in this country. It's like, yeah, the DSA basically, are they united with any government? With any government that we've ever had? Are they? Any government we've ever had? DSA? J Streets.
Made no secret about his antipathy towards the government of Israel as well. So perhaps if he would have coordinated the trip and then, to have this incident on Wednesday and wait to release it on Saturday, maybe this had more something to do with his support of Graham Platner beforehand and the difficulties he had with that and trying to shift the focus to something else. Perhaps I'm asking a question.
Well, we did.
I'm just asking questions. He's doing the whole Candace Owens thing. I have questions.
To hear from Congressman Khanna, who said that there was an alert to the embassy on his behalf, and that they asked for the news to be held until he had left the country.
There was not an alert. There was a question about visas. That's all. But when we requested that he coordinate the trip with us, he rejected that by basically staying silent. So that's unfortunate. This whole incident is unfortunate. And if somebody, it's kind of interesting that somebody wants to declare a presidential run by running off to Israel. Not strange?
Well, we're going to have to leave it
Lighter
there,
has
sir.
questions.
There's so much more to talk about with you, but I'm out of time.
Lighter's got questions. So, but there's more. This is Ro Khanna clashing
joins
with Fox News when they're asking him about it.
us now. Thanks for taking time with us, sir. Did you really not know that going into a restricted military area guarded by local security forces was going to result in your entourage getting stopped?
It was not a area that was restricted by military. American Congress people had been there before. We went with
prior
Nadal.
coordination.
Yeah, when you get coordinates with the IDF.
Waterman, if I could just finish, please, because this should be an outrage to any American
This shouldn't be an outrage to any American
citizen. What happened? We were there seeing the Zanuda village, which Yanan Levy had destroyed, burned to the ground. Many American members of Congress had been there before. We drove up to the road, and these hoodlums with M4s circled our van. They started kicking the tires. They yelled insults. They said it didn't matter that we were Americans. And then the IDF came and they blocked the road. There's breaking news video camera released just this morning that shows those IDF officers siding with the settlers against the Americans.
Really?
Many, even conservatives, have said, how dare they do this to an American passport holder? Not just me, 4 Americans. And we need the arrest of these people who detained us, who threatened our lives.
Congressman,
You weren't detained. Detain means you cannot leave. That's what detain means. You could have left, you just couldn't go forward. Those are 2 different things. There's being detained, and then there's not being able to go forward. They weren't detained, they were just prohibited from going forward. They could have gone back. They didn't want to. That's not detained. Detain means you cannot leave. That's what detain means. And he knows this. So he's playing word games here in order to make it seem as if, like, you know, since he couldn't go where he wanted to go. I'm an American. Americans go wherever the hell we want to go in a foreign country in a hostile zone. What?
it is disingenuous to call those local security officials random settlers. These are people who operate in the area regularly. Further, sir, I have to point out to you that other members of Congress have visited this area, but with prior coordination, we understand that your team did not do that.
That's false. We had informed the Israeli embassy. The only reason our lives are saved is because of the excellent work of the American embassy. David.
The only reason our lives were saved. Oh my gosh, it's a miracle. Ro Khanna didn't die the same day as Lindsey Graham. Oh, thank the gods that Ro Khanna wasn't killed. Oh my gosh, it was such this terrifying situation for poor Ro Khanna.
Brownstein, who also can talk about this, had first told us just don't engage with these violent settlers. And we tell them you're on with the American embassy. They didn't care. They said, who cares that you're American? We don't care that someone's in Congress or a government official. He said to say that to the IDF. They didn't care. They were taking the side of the settlers who were detaining and threatening Americans over the side
the
of
Israelis,
Americans.
sir, say it was IDF officials coordinating with local security on the ground there. Here's just part of the statement.
They can see the video.
Let me read part of this statement,
video.
sir, from the IDF. Troops were dispatched to the scene to quickly disperse the...
So he's not happy. He's not happy at all. According to Ro Khanna, everybody's lying.
Detain.
Everybody's lying. Everybody's lying.
The IDF is lying. What happened was unprecedented. They had violent settlers detain American citizens, including an American government official. You had these settlers brandishing M4s, kicking the tires of our van, laughing at us, mocking at us, videotaping us. We were detained for about 20 minutes, fearful of our lives.
Then the IDF comes, 4 soldiers. They tell our translator that they're on the side of the settlers. They further detain us and block us in. We had to call the American embassy. Fortunately, David Brownstein helped, and he got to someone in Israel. And 75 minutes after the detention by the IDF soldiers and by these settlers, we were let through. Now, I heard the prime minister, and he says that Israel is a country of law and order. Well, let me be very specific. The prime minister needs to open an investigation on these violent settlers who are connected to Yanon Levy, who has destroyed Zanuda's village and is a known person who has killed Palestinians, and these settlers were connected to him. They need to be prosecuted, including Yanon Levy. Their outpost needs to be investigated, and he needs to have an investigation on these 4 IDF officers. Security cameras can see that they were involved in the detention of American citizens. How dare they mistreat people with an American passport that way?
Good pushback there. As we saw. This is Netanyahu's response that he referenced.
I do want to give you the opportunity, if you would like to respond to Congressman Ro Khanna. He is going to be on this broadcast. He says he visited the West Bank. He was blocked by settlers wielding guns. He says the IDF did not help fuse this situation. Do you have any comment on that this morning, Mr. Prime Minister?
Yeah, we're a country of laws, and people who break the law, we take them to court. In the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, we've had thousands of attempted attacks and warnings against terrorist activities, against innocent Israelis, families, mother with their children driving along the road. They're stopped by terrorists and they kill them. And this has happened again and again.
I'm just going to say this. I'm astonished by his bookshelf here. Astonished by his bookshelf. This here that he has up here, this set of books that he has here, is a set of Mishnayos that I have. It's actually called Mishnayos Mevueres. And yeah, that's an astonishing thing to see. This is like the original, this is like Mishnayos is plural of Mishnah. The Mishnah was written in the 2nd century. And it's basically bringing down the writings of sages of the age called Tanaim, and it's basically the first works that were put into writing, breaking down Jewish law. Like all of Jewish law, pretty much all of Jewish law that we have today evolves from this set of books here, which I've studied several times, including with my sons, like going through like Mishnah by Mishnah. There's like something like 2,000 Mishnayos. Yeah. So I'm just astonished to see that he's got that on his bookshelf behind him. Again
and again. There is a vigilante effort, not by the settler community. They're 99.9%, law-abiding citizens. They work, they serve in the army, and so on. There are 150 juvenile delinquents that are not part of that community. They come from the other parts of Israel. I don't want vigilantes of any kind. And we are working to put them under the law. But I think if we put things in perspective, we should see that we have thousands of attacks and some few, but obvious breaking of the law. Then we apply the full measure of the law against them. Israel, unlike our neighbors, is a democracy and a country of law, and we act against those who break the law.
So that's, I mentioned earlier that the fact that this happened on Shabbos is a relevant part of this story. This is as explained by Gedalia Bloom, explaining how this was pretty much orchestrated by Ro Khanna as a publicity stunt. Which explains why he's running everywhere screaming, we should be outraged. Every American should be outraged.
Anyway, so he's on a dirt road. Now, picture this. It's Shabbat. Most of the communities around this area, the Jewish communities, are Jewish, and they're religious. And on Shabbat, they don't drive. So what happens is when you see a suspicious car, especially on Shabbat, driving off the road into a dirt road near a village, maybe near a Jewish community, the first response units, the volunteers from the communities, get a message from the surveillance people who are surveilling the area with cameras. And they're saying, there's a suspicious car over here. Why don't you go over there and check it out? So instead of running away, these first responders actually go to it. And this is when they were detained. Now, of course, they carry guns. Why wouldn't you carry guns if you were a first response unit, a civilian first response volunteer unit that
basically like a volunteer unit in case there's like an October 7th attack type of situation, that they'll basically see them coming before they get to the community. That's what he's describing here with respect to this first response unit. That's what Ro Khanna encountered. Basically, folks who were like, this car should not be here on this road at this time. This is a very weird situation. Why is this car here? And then, so they go driving out there to ensure that this car is not posing a hazard to the community.
Goes after threats, suspicious vehicles, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, whoever's there, Palestinian Authority policemen who are very dangerous. So they go after them and they want to figure out. So they go after Ro Khanna and they stop the car and they try to figure out who he is. And it took over an hour. Why? Because he did not coordinate his trip with Israel or the IDF or anybody. No one even knew that he was in the area. All we knew from a first response unit that there was a suspicious vehicle. So he came, so he was detained. And he was detained until the army could then come, because the first response units are actually only first response. It's kind of like saying, it's kind of like getting like a paramedic and then a doctor, right? So the army is like set for this. And the first responders are there just to be the first ones there.
So that's essentially what Ro Khanna was doing. And this is purposeful because they know that by driving there on, that's why I'm saying they drove there on Shabbos on purpose. Because that way they knew they were going to trigger this response. Because they knew it's particularly suspicious to do that. And you also know it's going to take longer. This entire thing was orchestrated. Ro Khanna was basically saying, oh, if I can play a victim, in that case, maybe I'll improve my stock as presidential candidate for the DNC. That's what we're seeing here. Finally.
Ro Khanna apparently has spent the multiple days since that incident lying about what happened. They were not detained. They were prevented from going forward. Nothing stopped them from going back and retracing their steps and leaving the area. The area is under some kind of closed military control, and they refused to coordinate with the IDF. They refused to coordinate with the Israeli police. They refused to announce that a congressperson was coming to this area where people are not allowed to come. The armed Israelis who stopped them apparently are part of a security team of the area. They're not, or possibly of a nearby.
It's not like they're pirates.
Village or
you're in total danger here. Yeah, if you start firing at them, you'll be in danger.
Or settlement, they appear to be. They're not, rogue, random, sort of wandering armed Israelis, jumping on random cars, driving around places. They, in fact, are the people who are supposed to stop people from going into that area. They immediately, within 15 minutes already, they summoned an army patrol, and the army patrol arrived. That's, by the way, according to Khanna's people. The army patrol arrived, and then Ro Khanna is enraged that they then waited about 40 more minutes, possibly 45 more minutes. Khanna's own people have said the total event was between 60 and 75 minutes, something like that. So it took about 40 minutes for the police to arrive. And Ro Khanna spoke of violence. He spoke of detention of a U.S. congressman. There was no violence, and there was no detention of a U.S. congressman. And so it really is a purposeful triggering of an incident And all our information comes from Ro Khanna and Nadav, his Breaking the Silence tour guide. After people questioned Ro Khanna's single picture and 4 seconds of video that he was willing to release days later, Nadav himself released, I think, 1.5 minutes, something like that, which he claims proves that Ro Khanna's version of events was correct. And it shows Nadav quietly getting out of his car, walking over to the soldiers, having a polite conversation with the soldiers. The only person who ever got impolite was Nadav himself. And the soldiers said to him multiple times the same exact thing. We called the police and we're waiting for the police. The police sort this stuff out. The army's not the correct body to deal with this. So almost nothing at all happened. Just pretty much nothing at all happened. When the police arrived, the police said, get the cars out of the way and let them continue. And that was it. That was the entire incident. It took him multiple days to say anything about the incident. In other words, in real time, he was not tweeting as if he was afraid. Nobody raised a gun. Nobody raised a voice. And this incident has been, everything has been on fire about this great incident. So I am extremely willing to believe that extremist Israelis pounced on a car, wielding rifles. We've seen enough of these marginal incidents to know that it's possible. It's a shame to have a congressman invent out of whole cloth an event that apparently, according to every data point that he himself and his team have provided, simply doesn't represent what happened.
And there are incidents. I don't want to, and he's correct. I've seen incidents of some of these youths acting inappropriately. I think Ro Khanna is very disappointed that that just didn't happen to him. I think he was hoping that would happen to him, but it didn't. Off topic, but I've been pondering, who's smarter, you, Nick, or Bronco? None of the above. I don't know. I'm blessed to have to surround myself with very intelligent friends. I'm punting on this question. I don't know. If you ask me between like Branka and Nick, I think they have different areas of specialty. I think that they're bringing different things. I think all three of us have different areas of specialty. But I don't know. I have great respect for the intellect of both of them. So yeah, I know that's not the answer. I know that sounds like the cheesiest answer imaginable, but bottom line is that's what the smartest person would answer. So if Putin had muscle in Kiev, Lindsey's not the target. Oh, you're saying if Russia was North Kiev, Zelensky would be the target. That's just following up on that, saying Putin couldn't have gone away with this because if he would have just taken out Zelensky. That's a good point. That is a good point, Richard. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. It's a fair point. It's a very fair point. I talked to Mitch. He's resting comfortably at Roswell Memorial Hospital. Oh, Linda, you got me funny. She's been away so long, and you got him really funny, Linda. I appreciate the update. Thank you. Roswell Memorial. If Ro wasn't a partisan hack, he could have gone to the hospital, showered, said and seen that there are Arabs who get treated and work there, and that USAID helped with some of the funding. That's what he should have done. Yeah. He did pick the wrong weekend for viral hoax. He didn't realize that Lindsey was going to die. He's like, damn it! I want to be like the lead story everywhere. I need to be the lead story. Where are we at on our thing? Because I gotta take it. I haven't looked in. Where are we at on our goal? I know it looks like we're far away. We're really not. We're really not that far away. We're not that far away because it says 7, but there was a whole bunch over in Rumble. So we need like 5 more, I think. Not that far away. We'll see. Sometime we'll see if we have like a miracle Hail Mary come in the end here. Derna says Putin could have bombed Zelensky at any time. Why would you move the enemy's leader if he's an idiot? So he's saying back to Richard Parker, the reason you wouldn't kill Zelensky is because he sucks, and whoever's behind them is going to be far worse for Putin. These are all good questions. I don't know how Putin assesses Zelensky. I don't know. That's fair. It's a fair question. It's a very fair question. Where are my links that he gave me for this story here? I wanted to cover. All right. I want to tell you what was going on in Fulton County because I know you guys want to know about this stuff. As well you should. So first and foremost, we have agents are swarming down to Fulton County to review records. Georgia heats up as more than 200 FBI agents are on the ground in Fulton County to probe for evidence in the stolen 2020 election. A deadline of July 17th has been set to bring the findings and evidence forward. This is exactly what we voted for. Here we go. Here we go.
We have some breaking news in the FBI's Fulton County election.
That's a little loud.
Election investigation, more than 200 federal agents now in Georgia to comb through data seized earlier this year, a clear sign that the investigation into the 2020 election is heating up. Thanks so much for joining us for the On the Record podcast. I'm Rick Fulbaum, along with my co-host, Doug Reardon. We have a lot to talk about, Doug, and we're going to start with this investigation in Fulton County because there have been a number of developments over the last several days. Let's go through them real quickly. First of all, we know about these agents that have been sent in. What do we know about exactly what they're looking through and when?
I missed this. There's even more over in I apologize for this. This was very poor of me. Very, very poor of me. We're going to come back to this in a moment about the 200 agents in Fulton. But I did miss over in the ghetto, and I apologize for that. Peter says the guy who liked to drink would not doubt it finally caught up to him. And we also had Uzelian saying, I sure hope you make your goal. Sorry, Let's Talk said, I sure hope you make your goal. By the way, I'm Kansas Mima on YouTube. I can't seem to buy a super chat there. That's weird. That's very weird. Uzelian says, Joe, who's placed by his sister. What? Well, that came out this evening about Lindsey Graham. All right, let me cover this real fast. We'll come back to the 200 agents. Don't worry, I'm not going to forget about that. Thank you. And Hands One Pack says, if there were Christian nationalists, she would not say a Christian group. True. When I go to a country with my U.S. passport, I expect the police will bow down to my will, let me go and do whatever I want. He's such a pompous ass. He is. He really is. Got my U.S. passports. So this is what Uzelian shared with me. Darlene Graham Nordone, Lindsey Graham's sister, appointed to serve out his Senate term. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster on Monday appointed the late Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham Nordone, to finish his Senate term, which ends in January. Lindsey took care of his little sister in years long departed. It's my honor to ask his little sister, Darlene Graham, to finish his work for him now, McMaster said in an emotional news conference to announce his appointment for the vacancy left by Graham's death. Graham Nordone will be able to serve until at least January 3rd when a new Congress convenes. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said Graham Nordone will be sworn in Tuesday afternoon at 2:30. Lindsey's always been there for me, and now I'll be there for him, Graham Nordone said, calling privileged to get to finish some of his important work. So there you go. President Trump, Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, and others had voiced their support for Graham Nordone. McMaster said he broached the subject of Graham Nordone filling her brother's seat shortly after his death, and that she quickly accepted. Graham took legal guardianship of his sister when he was 22. She was 13 after both their parents died within 15 months of each other. Wow, I did not know that at all. Graham was also running for re-election this fall, and a special Republican primary election will be held on August 11th to determine who will place him on the ballot. The candidate who wins in November will secure a full 6-year term. Through the years, Graham Nordone has been active in supporting Graham's political ambitions, attending his political and official events. On Monday morning, Mr. Trump threw his endorsement behind Graham's younger sister to serve the rest of his term. I recommend to Governor Henry McMaster, Lindsey Graham's wonderful sister Darlene, to serve as interim senator for the great state of South Carolina. This would be a fabulous tribute to Lindsey, who loved her dearly. Scott told CBS Mornings that Graham Nordone would be a wonderful placeholder. Scott has spoken to Graham Nordone multiple times over the past 24 hours. A source familiar with talks told CBS News. So there you go. Thank you for updating me with that, Uzelian. I really hadn't heard about that. All right, let's start all over again because I feel as if I botched this story from the get-go. 200 agents swarming Fulton. Swarming.
We have some breaking news in the FBI's Fulton County election investigation. More than 200 federal agents now in Georgia to comb through data seized earlier this year. A clear sign that the investigation into the 2020 election is heating up. Thanks so much for joining us for the On the Record podcast. I'm Rick Fulbaum, along with my co-host, Doug Reardon. We have a lot to talk about, Doug, and we're going to start with this investigation in Fulton County because there have been a number of developments over the last several days. Let's go through them real quickly. First of all, we know about these agents that have been sent in. What do we know about exactly what they're looking through and when we're going to hear if they've found anything?
Yeah, we have about 50% of the answers to your questions, Rick. We know that there's this mysterious July 17th deadline that is coming up for these agents to do something. We don't know what. And of course, we still don't know exactly what it is they're looking for. We assume some inaccuracies in these ballots and this data that was seized from these ballot tabulation machines. But this was first reported by the Associated Press in an internal leaked memo from the FBI that was later confirmed to us by members of the Fulton County Commission who had seen it and been briefed on it. 260 FBI agents from field offices around the country were basically called down here to Georgia to review these documents. And one Fulton
260 officers called down.
County commissioner said maybe the biggest thing to come out of this, besides those hard numbers that kind of give us the biggest scope of this investigation so far, is the fact that they're coming here to review these documents. What that tells us is these ballots, or at least a lot of these documents where we had no idea where they were for a long time,
they're still here,
are in fact here in Georgia. They never left. We saw them getting loaded onto those at Renton Enterprise box trucks and FBI pickups that were there that day back in January. We had no idea what happened to them after that, but there are clearly many of them somewhere here in Georgia. So these 200 plus agents will come down, review this. There is that July 17th deadline. And again, we heard from a commissioner.
I don't know. I mean, that's a very strange self-imposed deadline. There's got to be a reason for that, right? They say it's not court ordered. So what's happening?
They don't know what's going to happen, but they know that something's going to happen because the government isn't in the habit of just arbitrarily setting deadlines for federal agencies. So presumably they will be combing over these documents, these ballots, looking for inaccuracies, and they don't have very long to do it now.
But this is not a court-imposed deadline. It's a self-imposed deadline from the government itself.
And that's the strangest part to me. That's the strangest part. I can't figure out what the objective is. I don't think anyone can. But meanwhile, the DOJ had issued a subpoena for names of Fulton County's 2020 election staff, and a judge has quashed that. A federal judge on Tuesday denied the Department of Justice's request for personal information from election workers in Fulton County, Georgia, as part of its investigation to President Trump's unsubstantiated claims of widespread election fraud. U.S. District Judge William Ray found in his order that the DOJ could not use grand jury subpoenas as their tool to investigate these fraud claims. Really? That's an interesting holding. It's a 28-page decision. I'm not going to go through this 28-page decision, but he basically is afraid that this is going to serve a chilling effect on people willing to volunteer. Ray called the government's April request staggering, noting that it asked for personal details, including workers' names, positions, residential and email addresses, and personal cell phone numbers. The information sought herein is private and sensitive, so much so that should a private company fail to protect such information from electronic thieves, such company will most likely be sued in a data breach class action lawsuit. Thus, everyone, whether you support the president or you do not, or whether you believe in the 2020 election was fair or believe that it was not, should be concerned about the DOJ's ability to utilize the power of the grand jury to appropriate your private information without a legitimate purpose. Well, who says not a legitimate purpose? That's already, that seems as if you're making a whole bunch of decisions in that. That's baked into that. The Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections noted in their May objections to the DOJ subpoena that the information requests would apply to thousands of employees and volunteers who worked on this election day. Ray noted that the Tuesday order makes no opinion on the DOJ's legitimate interest in investigating alleged fraud in the 2020 election. You're saying that there's no legitimate purpose, though. So it seems like you're sort of like, talking out both sides of your mouth, Judge Ray. In these hyper-political times in which we currently live, there's sure to be some who disagree with this decision because they believe election allegations of fraud in the 2020 election and believe that the light should be brought to those claims, he wrote. Yeah, as in any thinking person. Fulton County has been at the heart of the president's claims of election fraud and his insistence that he was the true winner of the 2020 presidential election. In January, the FBI conducted a raid on a county elections office in which federal agents search for ballots, voting machine tabulator tapes, ballot images, and voter rolls. The raid followed a DOJ complaint requesting these election materials. So you think that this is all tied into one thing, right? That's what it seems like. Chuck Schumer called the court order an important win in Tuesday's statement shared on social media, but he cautioned that the Trump administration will continue to pursue this fraud investigation because we need to get to the bottom of it. We know Trump will do whatever he can to rig the elections. That's full of crap. We know you've done everything you can, and you have successfully rigged elections. I will continue to lead Democrats to use every avenue to stop these anti-democratic efforts at every turn. Yeah. It's all about democracy. If democracy means Democrats win, that's when it's about democracy. That's the only time. We're not actually tabulating votes. If you gave a damn about votes, you'd be happy to prove to everyone how accurate everything was. Whenever someone is reluctant to show anything, they're telling you that they have that much to hide. The district court's ruling on the probable expiration of the statute of limitations prevents the grand jury from investigating the 2020 election in Georgia is at odds with the numerous holdings of the Supreme Court, spokesperson said, because the court's order jeopardizes both the historic purview of the grand jury and a long-delayed assessment of 2020 election processes. I mean, I don't know what statute of limitations you're dealing with that's going to be 6 years. I don't know what you have July 17th. I mean, normally, most federal statute of limitations are 5 years. So it's a question of already what you could do with stuff that happened in November of 2021, November 2020, December 2020. You would think that the time ran for this last year. That's what you would think. So yeah, but the concern that was expressed by the court is a concern that you're going to basically be chilling people from wanting to work and volunteer in elections. And I sort of can understand that. It's frustrating, but I can understand that, because if you knew that by volunteering, you're now subjecting yourself to basically being potentially interrogated, you'd probably be reluctant to do that. But I err on the side of, let's make sure that we have actual integrity in our elections. To me, there's nothing that's more important. And what on earth could possibly be more important than that? What? Tell me. I struggle to come up with anything that could be more important than establishing the veracity of our elections. To me, that's basic. But sadly, I'm not the one who decides these things. 22nd Amendment says no person should be elected to the office of president more than twice. So Trump proves he was elected 3 times. What happens? This is tough questions. I'll probably try and remove him. I'll probably try and impeach him, saying, you won 3 times. Get out. Get out. It's probably what would happen. I know we didn't hit our goal tonight, but I really like you people. So I'm going to do this anyway. Just because I like you. I need to find the link here. All right. This is going to be, even though I'm going to be humiliating myself, this is an act of love for you, my listening audience. I'm about to get quizzed on whether I can identify all 100 U.S. senators. I expect to get a 60. What's passing? Tell me what's passing. I don't know what's passing. What is passing? This is my test. I'm very nervous about this. All right. Hopefully you'll still respect me in the morning. Oh, I put this in? Okay, so I just gotta, I don't get a multiple choice? Oh, that's John Thune. What? I gotta put the, what? Where do I press enter? What? What's happening? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. That is John Thune. This is John Thune. Oh, come on. Well, this isn't working. How do I put them? What is happening? Am I missing something here? Well, this didn't work out. How do I put this in? I'm trying to figure out. I know this is Tuberville, but how do I fill it in? Where do I fill this in? What the hell is happening? Well, this isn't working out. Enter answer here. I entered my answer. And now they're not giving me like the next person. I assume he wants me to name this first one up top. So what do you want me to do? Just I'm just supposed to put in names? I don't know this chick over here. All right. I'm gonna start working my way through. Murkowski. Who's the junior one? That's Kelly. That's Gallego. I know that's Cotton. Oh, what was this schmuck's name? He's so crooked, this guy. Not him. This guy. He used to be Secretary of State. What was his name? God. He filled in for Kamala. This is killing me. All right, let me just go to Schiff. Colorado. I'm going to keep moving along. Blumenthal. What was this? I just say Scott. They're going to give me all of them? Are they going to give me all of them? Or not? I know this guy. Good. I just was looking at his face. Georgia's Ossoff and Warnock. This is the dumbest woman in the world. What's her name again? Come on. Yeah, it's Padilla. I know one of these is Barrasso. I wouldn't be able to pick him out with like a lineup. I wouldn't know him if he mugged me. Oh, come on. She's this Hawaiian stupid idiot, like the stupidest person who ever lived. Tammy Duckworth, her no legs. Dick Durbin. I have no idea who this dude is. Idaho. Soon I'm gonna just guess names that sound familiar to me. Grassley. And we're just going to move on to McConnell. Oh, it's Kennedy. Susan Collins. That is Warren. Slut. I don't recognize this woman at all. This is the one with the most annoying voice in the history of humankind. Oh yeah, this is Bill Cassidy. That's right. He's the one who's all whiny. He's all upset, Bill Cassidy. Okay, why am I drawing a blank on whiny voices? Klobuchar. I literally have no idea who this woman is. I definitely know Hawley. This is humbling. It's Booker and Kim. Knock off the easy ones. Don't tell us. It's not Whitehurst. Damn it, I knew there was something like that. It's Blackburn. Stupid Cornyn. Cruz. Lee. Sanders. What's her name? Patty. Is it Patty Smith? Might be Patty Smith. That wasn't right. That wasn't right. That's what it's White House. It's Caputo. Okay. Wait a second. Oh, that's Joni. Joni. Who's the one who was always... I can't name either one of these Kansas guys. All right. I didn't think I was going to get to 60. That was humbling. Now I'm just going to guess random things. I need to phone a friend. Yeah, you're right. It is paranoid. That's right. Oh, I missed Khanna. He's in here somewhere. I misspelled it. All right, now you guys are just helping me. Now you're just cheating for me. I wouldn't have ever gotten these two from Ohio. Yeah, Khanna's Congress. Arkansas is Boozman. I never would have gotten that. Never would have gotten that. All right, I'm giving up. I'm giving up. I'm tapping out. I need more research. I should be able to get to 60. I should be able to get to 60. I should definitely be able to get to 60. I didn't get Britt, no. I definitely should have gotten Tammy Baldwin. That one I should have gotten. It's pretty sympathetic that members of Congress are older, dying in office. We have to demand proof of life, and they still refuse to leave. That's the perfect way to end this show. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's pathetic. This should never happen. This should never happen. It shouldn't be. It should never be that way. But it is. It was never supposed to be this way. We were never supposed to be like something. It was public service was supposed to be something you couldn't afford to do. For like make a career out of it, a career out of public service. I mean, just think what a joke that is. The whole point of public service is you're volunteering. You get so rich and powerful there. Bastards. Gosh. All right. I'm going to land my plane here. I've been sufficiently humbled. I've been sufficiently humbled. I thank you all for joining me. God willing, I hope to see you tomorrow evening. Until then, I'm going to remind you that lamb meat was never meant for you. It's meant for they, them. And what else was I going to tell you? Oh, yeah. I guess tell you. Just don't leave suspense. Don't do it. Don't do it. Good night, everyone. Have Godspeed.
Plane is landing, the show is almost over. All that's left for you is this song. Joe left the studio, he's probably drinking Diet Mountain Dew. Maybe he's watching funny videos on YouTube, or playing chess, or doing Jewy things Jews do. We hope you had fun, and maybe you learned something. You hit like and you subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to show some love. That would be cool. You can be cool. Leaving comments is cool. So till next time, please be sure to stay away from lab meat. It was never meant for you. It's meant for they or them or comrades, sparkle hugs. And most importantly, do not eat Z-bugs. Good night and Godspeed.
Yeah, that was me. I sang that. Good night. Godspeed.